Okay, I'm gonna use my transparent yellow iron oxide for, I think, the grid lines, and then the red oxide for mapping out features. I'm going to be working on this Grace Kelly painting. I originally thought that the background was going to be red, but I had to change photos for reference because the composition just wasn't right on the first one. So, but I think it'll be a nice contrast if I keep the red and then have like the gray background. So that's the next painting. Grace Kelly. This was an idea from my friend Sarah, whose Instagram I'll put on screen. She answered one of my questions on Instagram. I just put up like for people to ask, and she told me to. I think I had asked for like painting ideas, and she told me to paint an old Hollywood actress. So I ended up with Grace Kelly. But yeah, this is my next painting, so I'm gonna get started.
Alright, it is voiceover Steph. I kind of just wanted to go over my process for this painting really quickly just because it was a bit different. I feel like I change it up every time. So for this one, I painted in my grid lines, and I already know for next time I'm going to make them thinner. Use a thinner paintbrush. I didn't do a heavy wash in the beginning. Like, I sort of grazed over some of that red and it dried kind of spotty. And I think that was pretty helpful because it allowed me to see the grid lines. But it also kind of colored in a little bit of the canvas, which is always, helpful. I outlined her main features, her head, her hair, her shoulders, just like her main proportions. And then slowly but surely worked my way through. And it was helpful because I remembered that you can just wipe away paint if you make a mistake. So I found myself doing that quite a bit in this painting. And slowly but surely it started to come together, and I actually really, really enjoyed this process. Once again, I would change those grid lines. I'd make them a bit thinner. And I think I'd do a bit of a heavier wash. I usually do an acrylic wash right when I'm starting, but I didn't. And I don't think I necessarily messed up too much on her proportions, but I do think they could have been tighter, a bit smaller, and I think measuring out, especially where her eyes are concerned, I could have handled that detail a little bit differently. So, nothing too alarming for me as far as this painting goes. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and allowing myself to make these mistakes and then go back and just wipe them away was really a nice reminder, because honestly, I don't reach for paper towels quite often when I'm painting. I don't tend to wipe away mistakes. I just sort of push through them, or I scrape off, which I don't really like doing, honestly. I don't like scraping off paint. So, yeah, this was really cool. I made some mistakes and I just wiped them away and then redid whatever I could. As far as the skin tone goes, like I always do, I had a hard time. But I mean, I'm still learning. I'm still, adjusting my lighting. I'm still understanding color theory, and it's not always going to be perfect. But I did appreciate the skin tone, the way that it came out this time. I appreciated that a lot more. Like in my previous video painting my wife, that I didn't do her skin tone very well. It was kind of hard to just see. I was already really frustrated with the canvas. So, yeah, I think that I handled this a bit better. I think I was less distracted because honestly, in the last video with the last painting, I was really distracted by the canvas texture. It was so difficult. But this time around, I gessoed it 3 times and then I sanded it. I did a pretty good sanding once, and that made such a difference. And I could have sanded a bit more. I do see there are some spots on the canvas that are a little bit lumpy. There's like some clumps from the gesso, which is fine, but I could have, sanded them away a little bit better. I am continuing with my process of mixing my paint before I start. So that's been working really well. It's just a matter of learning how to color match. And I give myself a lot of grace. Like, I'm still learning, so it's okay for me. One thing at a time. I definitely think I did a good job with her shoulders. She is wearing a bracelet in the original photo, but I just decided against it because you really weren't going to be able to see it anyway on this painting. It was the way that it was cropped. It was just so little by that point. So yeah, I just forgoed the bracelet, and I was fine with it. Yeah, it was just showing you. My wife got me a smoothie. And I did this all in one day. It was a Sunday, and yeah, I painted it all in one sitting. I mean, I did take breaks, obviously, but it took, maybe 6 hours, 6 or 7 hours of my day, and I did take some breaks to stretch, to do other things around the house, and yeah, it was a nice day, just painting. And I hadn't done something like so alla prima in a while, because usually when I was doing alla prima, it was working out really well. I felt like I had a lot more time. But this time, over the course of painting, I have changed a bit, and I've been, playing with mediums and things like that. And there are certain mediums that, dry your oil paint faster, and I've just been experimenting. But for this one, I really just went into it like straight doing alla prima. I thinned out my paints the way that I wanted to, and then I just went from there. I didn't focus too hard on, obviously, whether or not the paint was dry, and that just felt so natural to me. I really, really appreciated that. It made the process just go by quicker. Like, I normally work on a painting for 3 days, at the most a week, and I can feel it. I can feel myself getting tired. I can see that I wasted way more paint by doing that, and this time around I didn't. So I did have some leftover greens and like peach color, and I went ahead and put them on these wood canvases that I have like something planned for. So yeah, I went ahead and did that just so that I could use the paint. But overall, I don't think that I wasted a lot of paint this time. I made use, if anything, I wasted some of the titanium oxide, that I was showing in the beginning. I did pour out a little bit too much of that, and that was really expensive. So I do need to be a bit more sparing when it comes to that. But as far as the rest of it, I did a pretty good job. I'm currently cleaning my brushes. I'm letting them soak right now in solvent, which is another thing I wanted to bring up. I am doing a different thing when it comes to cleaning my brushes. I normally I'll soak them in solvent for as long as I can, and then I'll use this. I know it sounds insane, but it's a floor cleaner. I got this off like TikTok or something, and I use that to clean my brushes when I'm like genuinely not going to paint for a while. But because I'm continuing to paint, I got safflower oil. And I know a lot of people use this for solvent-free painting, But I am using this to clean my brushes, and it works so well. It's absolutely game changing. I highly recommend. If you want to stay away from solvents, or you're just trying to, because I really am trying to lessen my solvent use, because I am noticing after I'm painting, I'm getting a bit more headaches, and that is not fun. I normally get a headache like the next day, so I do want to limit my solvent use as I move forward. I think this will be the last jar of solvent that I have, so we'll see how long it lasts me. So I got safflower oil, a Gamblin, and it's working great. It honestly works better than the solvent, and I'm a really big proponent of using solvent because I'm so new at this that I don't know any better. But I mean, and it's not that solvent is bad, it's just I'm noticing, at least for me, it's giving me some headaches after the day after I paint. So I do want to lessen that. But yeah, I just wanted to jump in and talk a bit. I haven't done that, I don't think, in a while. I wanted to, go over the process for this painting. Oh my god, and you can even see the texture of the canvas in this frame where I'm painting her eyes. And I just think that's so cool. But also it does reassure me that I should have gessoed a bit more. Or I'm sorry, sanded a bit more. I will say, while I really love the way that this came out, I do feel like towards the end, I wasn't thinning out my paints enough, and it was sort of bringing the eyes a bit too, like, you could tell the eyes are a bit thicker than everything else, and I didn't love that. I also fell into just making the eye shape almond like I always do, and I really need to work on that, because that's not her true eye shape. So you'll see I made a mistake and I wiped it away, and just working through it. But yeah, while I'm really, really proud of how this came out, I do notice that, like, with her eyes, it was a hard time, and even just doing the face shape correctly and the eye shape correctly was a big issue for me. So yeah, for the next painting that I do, whatever it may be, I want to make sure that I'm focusing on the eyes and making sure that I'm not falling into these old habits. So yeah, I just wanted to, say hi, whoever's watching this. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of the painting. I've talked your ear off a bit, and I just wanted to go over the process with you. So for the next one, I know the mistakes I made and the things that I'd want to fix, and I'm pretty proud that, honestly, there weren't that many. I like the way it came out for the skill set that I have, and I am trying to improve and make my portraits a bit softer and less, at least in my opinion, they do feel a little bit cartoony, but I know that I can make things smoother. I just have to work on how much paint I'm using, color matching, and honestly paying attention to the features that make a person unique. I need to make sure that I'm honoring those three. So yeah, every painting is a learning lesson. But yeah, I'm gonna go now. Thanks for listening to me. I am gonna go. All right, bye bye.